couldn't sleep. But I had enjoyed driving down the Turner Turnpike to the Wichita Mountains and Mount Scott. And I went up, usually they close the gates at night, but I was able to get up to the top before they shut the gates. And I got up there and stayed up there till about 11:30 at night because I wanted to experience the low-level jet, which by then had cranked up to like 60 knots. Yeah, experienced that and drove back to Norman to the lab and then walked across the street. And I think Dave Gold was there. And we walked across the street to the FO, and we're all bug-eyed, just started pulling up models just to see if everything was on track and everything. And we made our decision, packed the car. Without any sleep, we drove north. Yep, at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right now, I left work really early to go chase, and so I was I didn't see the synoptic environment, the mesoscale environment, until I actually arrived at the National Weather Service office in Concordia. They had a small office in Concordia, Kansas at that point. I remember looking at their weather, looking at the weather data on their system, and there's a dry line, a very well-defined dry line, and on satellite there was a little pocket of stratus clouds that are really slow to dissipate during the day, which kind of suggests to me there was some kind of boundary there.
I almost didn't chase that day. Vince Miller used to work at the Weather Channel. We talked on the phone about noon. He says, yeah, John, you ought to go up. You ought to go up to around Waukene or someplace, because there was a dry line and a low up there. And okay, I'll go ahead and take off and see what I can see. And I actually got on. That was one of those cases where you see the storm form from just a cumulus cloud and go through the whole thing, and that was very interesting. There was a clump of cumulus that developed between, I think it was Waukene and Hill City.
Well, we had some thunderstorms overnight that had moved into eastern Kansas, and things started really clearing out mid-morning, and that's when we started driving west from Concordia. We actually overshoot and drive further west of the triple point by probably about 20 miles. And we could look east-southeast at the triple point as it was bubbling and watched it a little bit too long. I watched this explosion right at the triple point, just literal explosion of deep moist convection. And it was just nonstop and off to the races after that.
June 15th, 1992 storm was very well defined as far as where the gust front was, and I remember it was all filled in with rain where the rain-free base would be normally with a classic storm, and so that was very interesting to me because I was learning about HP storms at that time. But there was a nice gap or a vault between where the updraft was. It was largely filled in with water around it, and there was a nice gap, and then you had your forward flank over here, and it was really hard to know where to look for tornadoes with that one. I remember the structure would keep changing and confuse me, but I learned quite a bit that day.
And to this day, it's still the physically largest updraft I've ever witnessed. I mean, the barrel updraft was really large. I took a lot of video of that on my old Super 8 camcorder at the time, and so it was physically large. And you interviewed Gene earlier. He mentioned it was kind of a merry-go-round of mesocyclones going around a larger system, and he's right. And when you have an updraft that physically large, it kind of alters its own environment. And this one certainly did alter its own environment. It had to sustain almost severe inflow.
Damaging inflow, easily. I mean, it was ripping limbs off trees, and this is well in advance of the storm system. I shouldn't call it a storm because it wasn't just one single storm. It was a storm system at that point.
So I was actually on the storm for maybe an hour filming its structure, oohing and eyeing about the structure when I finally got the first tornado that came down. And
there go the sirens in some little town.
ground.
Tornado, yeah, tornado on the
Tornado
ground.
on the
All right,
ground.
Tornado
we got
on
it
the ground.
tripoded.
We got a
Stovepipe.
tornado. Hopefully it will
Oh
be
my
a
goodness.
stovepipe. Oh, come on, drop, baby.
Oh, oh dear.
Yes, tornado. There's circulation on the ground.
First tornado we saw was a multi-vortex tornado that quickly developed out of a rotating wall cloud. And quickly after that, in the inflow region, the Beaver's Tail region, another one tightened up, a little rope tornado, and it developed, spun up really high vertical velocities. This almost seemed like more vertical than it was tangential.
And a nice little tornado forms in the inflow, and here you got this big tornado, and then it's like a satellite, and it goes right into it, and they combine. And that was really fascinating to see.
It was rapidly pulled into the multi-vortex tornado and merged into it. And then the multi-vortex tornado quickly wrapped some precipitation around the south side of it and enveloped it, and we kind of lost it after that. And
Tornado! Two tornadoes at
two
once.
tornadoes.
Two tornadoes at once.
Wow.
okay,
Oh, this is ridiculous.
Incredible.
I can only get
Spazzing.
one.
Spazzing. We can't.
This
I can't
one's
help it.
roping.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Tornado on the ground. Look at the sinuoid. Look at the sinuoid motion in that. Oh wow, that's ridiculous.
Oh, this is incredible.
That's incredible.
Dave, this is
Oh,
really.
my
Oh,
goodness.
look at
That's
that.
horrendous.
That's nice. Oh, look at that second one.
Look at the second tornado.
Another tornado touched down.
Oh my
Jeez.
goodness.
Just west of
Debris cloud.
Debris.
Cloud.
Oh,
Major mesocyclone developed.
we
gotta leave.
that whole thing could just.
Yeah, it's going to spin
We
out.
gotta leave. Multiple vortex. A multiple vortex tornado.
Right there.
Multiple vortex tornado.
Oh,
Large tornado.
Large tornado.
Large tornado.
Oh, yes.
Oh yes!
After that, there were a whole bunch of other tornadoes, and because it was such a complicated, messy system, I was chasing solo at that time. I didn't have any help. I was trying to stay a little bit further back, in part for safety reasons, but also because the structure was so remarkably incredible. I got lots of great time lapse of the structure. To see the tornadoes, you had to be a little bit closer in because it was kind of murky back there. But
We started following it east and north, and yeah, and the striations for the system were crazy. It was the whole western sky. It was a giant. I haven't seen anything of this size since of stack plates, but huge, giant. When I see a striated storm, usually they can be fairly sizable, but most of those are smaller. They're still beautiful. This one was just that on steroids, just giant. Whole sky was striations. And the inflow was, of course, 50 to 60. And the lightning was also something I have not seen since.
Oh, I wonder how many tornadoes this thing's producing.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Hundreds, Bill. I want you to help me out here.
Oh. Oh, this is unbelievable.
even the best tornado I got actually was closer to Sunset, near the little town of Simpson, and it touched down and it crossed Kansas State Highway 9 to a couple of miles to my west, and lots of good entertaining motion, and it was moving like due north, and I kind of made the mistake of thinking that it was over and it was still going on, so I kind of tried to reposition east and north as opposed to trying to get on it sooner, and it turned out it produced the tornado lasted for quite some time. I missed a lot of it. I got the touchdown phase though in the first 10 minutes or so. It was pretty entertaining.
Multi-vortex. Very strong winds. Tornado appears to be multi-vortex and quite large. Incredible. Goes Cub. Oh, incredible. Okay, tornado's moving rapidly northeast. starting to lose my backlighting. Good RFD fitting in from the backside.
But I think Al Moeller was out that day. You remember Al Moeller was a great storm chaser. And I think he was very frustrated because I don't think he saw a single tornado that day. It was just one of those days where you had to be in the right place with the storm. And a couple times I lucked out. It wasn't because I knew anything about what I was doing.
To make a long story short, I decided to try to be the hero. It obviously didn't work, but I was going to be the hero because I said, we're going to see the tornadoes no one else is going to see. This triple point thing up there on the dry line warm front, that's too obvious. Trust me, I know it sounds stupid, but I decided in 1992 that target is too obvious, even though I knew we were going to be spending the night somewhere near I-70, because the next day looked like a big storm day and we were free to chase it. So I decided we're going to catch something's going to form further south down the dry line. It looks like it's capped, but I think we're going to get a storm or two farther south. If I fast forward to the end result, there was the F4 near McPherson, Kansas, south of I-70, so somewhere between Wichita and Salina, about halfway it crossed, but it was at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. So my forecast that there was going to be a secondary target and it was going to be pretty good, it was after dark. So we get on initial towers, go up, they have these nice little corkscrew barber pole things, produce a few raindrops, a lightning flash or two, and then just couldn't go past that. Meanwhile, we're hearing about tornado warning, then tornado. And after about an hour and a half of this, ours struggling, and now it's getting towards 7:30, 7:45 in the evening, and we still don't have a sustained storm down south. We're about maybe an hour away from the northern target. And it's like, okay, I snapped, couldn't take it. And I'm thinking, there's no way there can still be tornadoes going by the time we get up there. I know this is the sucker play because that'll be 3 solid hours of tornadoes if this works. But it's like, down here's just not working. And I said, we're going to try to salvage something. Basically, we got there right after the whole sequence of visible tornadoes. So we follow that supercell for a couple hours to after dark. I mean, it's a big, impressive storm, updraft. We don't see any tornadoes with it after that, essentially when we showed up. Went back, tried to get a hotel somewhere around Salina. Called up the radar, and I think it was the McPherson storm that I saw. But by then you could look at the Weather Channel, like the local radar stuff, and it was like, what the heck? There's this like perfect hook thing that's come up from the southeast and is going just east of us, and it was that McPherson storm. I actually turned around, got in the car by myself, and went back out to try to look at it. I was sort of trying to punch through the hook thing from the west, and now it's about 1 to 1:30 in the morning.
There's another tornadic supercell that's got reports, and it's just going to pass, a 20-minute drive to my southeast. I can't refuse this after dark. So I went down to the southeast, trying to intercept it, but I didn't see anything. And I got back to the hotel at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the sirens were sounding in town, and all the people, all the guests at the hotel were kind of mingling outside. And at that, I had a little portable TV set, so I could kind of see some TV station radars at least, and I could see that the threat was over. So I'm kind of staggering back to the hotel after dark, kind of bleary-eyed, and telling everybody, it's over, you can go to sleep now. Got some sleep, because the next day was going to be a big day too. Eventually I just said, okay, this is stupid, I'm tired, and I went back. So it was kind of comical, but again, I just remember I tell myself the forecast is pretty good because there was a violent tornado. It's just, it was a couple hours later than I thought. And because of the couple hours later, I panicked and ran off to the north and missed the epic storm, and then didn't have anything unusual to show for it down south. So it's like I missed both of them. Stayed too long south, got north too late, and then missed everything that eventually happened down south. And then that was a kind of a gut punch. And it was like, especially when I saw it, it's like, wow, that's a pretty good supercell. And that's what I refused to go after because it was too obvious.
Running water across roads or highways.
What a supercell.
The water may be deeper than you think, and the force of the running water can easily move the car off the road and into the river or stream bed. People in the watch